The day has finally come. We have Yoko support for stay level avionics, tabletop avionics panels. We've got the RealSimGear G1000 as well. Keep it right here and I'm going to tell you all about the new features of the Slavix Model 11. Alright, well hey, welcome back to another product announcement video. It seems as though these are becoming a pretty recurring occurrence, which I think is a good thing because, you know, we keep coming out with new models of Slavix tabletop avionics panels, and the reason that we keep doing that is because we want to have the most amount of support and the most amount of compatibility with avionics themselves. So that includes the RealSimGear G1000, the VirtualFly Yoko TQ6 Plus throttle quadrant, all of these different components. We want to keep adding more and more functionality and compatibility for all of our customers. We do a lot of custom panels, and this is another spin-off of the custom panel. This is a highly requested panel of us, so we went ahead and we added it to the library. So this panel is awesome. It also incorporates our new pedestal mounting system. So previously on these Slavix tabletop avionics panels, you'll notice that the throttle and the trim wheel, or just throttle depending on your setup, was located over here on the right hand side. Some people felt that was a little bit long to reach to touch a throttle if you're sitting here in front of the yoke. I personally found it to be okay, however others didn't, and they really wanted it to be more replicative of that Cessna 172 training aircraft. And so that was really done with the incorporation of this pedestal mount. Had about 3 different revisions of the mount just to get it right. You know, I'm really particular and very OCD about getting things just right where it's a great, pleasant experience. And so this is actually what we landed on. We include all the mounting hardware as well for you to mount your throttle, your pedestal mount to the actual Slavix panel. If you are considering the pedestal mount, it does need to be added before we go to manufacturing on your panel. Okay, so really going to talk a little bit about here the different features of this panel. We've got the VirtualFly Yoko. So the VirtualFly Yoko is a great yoke. It's quite large in terms of a dimension, and the reason that it's so large is because it offers just an unparalleled level of mechanical, I'm going to call it mechanical linearity, okay, and just how the yoke feels in your hand is very replicative of a real Cessna 172. They've done a phenomenal job with the yoke. And so we have now incorporated support to mount this yoke into your panel. It mounts from the bottom, the actual yoke, to the panel itself. Now one thing with the Yoko is you're going to actually want to use the included tabletop clamp, okay? And so the reason for that is the arm here on the Yoko. If you kind of think a little bit about weight and balance and CG and things, but anyways, the arm is so long. And so the reason that the arm is so long is because it does have that travel to make it very realistic. And the reason that you want to use this clamp here is because if you are pulling back on the yoke quite aggressively, it'll just stay mounted to the table within your whole panel better. Okay, so definitely want to use that clamp there. Other than that, our goal is to not use clamps on any of our Slavix tabletop avionics panels. So you understand I'm very passionate about not using clamps, but for this setup, and if you are going to be using the Yoko, you're going to want to clamp it. Additionally, if you're going to be using a cockpit simulator, you can actually mount the Slavix tabletop avionics panel to the simulator, and you don't need to use this clamp. Okay, so really good from that perspective. But ultimately, you know, this is a great setup. I'm going to kind of let the pictures and the video here do the talking, but you know, this is full G1000. This is X-Plane 11, Cessna 172 G1000. Here's the TQ6. Just an absolutely incredible build quality on these components. All metal design. It's got feathering. You know, it's just you know, idle cutoff. It's just a great component here. So you know, if you go ahead and you power up the Avionics and the Master, everything comes up here really nicely. The G1000 looks beautiful. Screens are great. Viewing angles really nice. There's a video I do have as well on how to actually remove the top Windows menu bar from the RealSimGear G1000. I'll link that below in the description if you're wondering how these look just so natural in their current environment. So that's basically this panel. I got the Logitech switch panel here as well for starting up the aircraft, control your lights, things like that. So that's very beneficial. How I've configured here the Yoko, I've got the trim for the elevator there, and then I've got, this is actually I'm using as a gear up and gear down. And so with all those things, it means that I don't really need to worry about ever touching anything kind of on the cockpit itself. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to walk through a demo of me actually just flying a quick traffic pattern with all these components so you can actually see them all in action. And any questions you guys have, let me know. But really excited to bring this support for the Yoko, the TQ6, the pedestal mounting system, and bring all that to the community. So we'll see you guys. Stick around for the demo, and we'll stay level. All right, everybody. So thank you for joining us for the demo portion here. This once again is the Slavix Model 11, and just as a reminder, when you are purchasing the Slavix Tabletop Avionics panel, what you're purchasing is the actual Avionics panel itself. Okay, so the panel isn't the Yoko. It's not the TQ6, the RealSimGear G1000. You purchase all of those components that actually get mounted into the Slavix Tabletop Avionics panel. Okay, so just wanted to clarify that up in case anybody had any questions. I'm happy to tell you where to get all this kind of stuff, but that is what the intention of the Slavix Tabletop Avionics panel is. So really quick, just going to do a traffic pattern here. I'm in X-Plane 11 with the default G1000, Cessna 172. If you really wanted to get technical, you could kind of get out your POH and you could look and you could actually follow all the different startup procedures and whatnot for starting the aircraft. But I'm not going to bore you kind of with walking through all of that, right? But you could even do that as you're practicing the sim. Such as even looking at checklists if you're practicing engine outs and things like that. So anyhow, we'll do that. We'll get started. This isn't going to be a perfect pattern. We'll try to dial it in pretty good, and we'll go from there. Okay. So thanks for watching here, and we're going to demonstrate how all this stuff works. So looking good there, and we'll go ahead and start up. And there's Knobster on. Boom. Good. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm using trim here, trim up and trim down, and then this here is for the flap lever. So going left is flaps notch up, going right is flaps notch down, and then obviously down for nose up elevator and down, excuse me, back for nose up elevator and forward for nose down elevator. Okay, so that's how we've got it configured. You can see here, we're in here at the runway. I mean, this is all fully just like it is in the real aircraft here. So we can even put that in there. So I'll go ahead. We'll do a quick traffic pattern. Okay. So we're looking for about 55 knots here where we'll rotate out. And there's 55, so we'll begin that rotation. I'm looking to climb out about 74 knots, so I'll just put in a little bit of nose down trim. And there's 74. Bring the flaps up, nose is going to come down, so we're going to want to keep that climb coming up. So about 74 and 85 knots on that climb out. We're going to be looking for about 1,300 feet first, and then we're going to be looking for about 1,700 for our traffic pattern. So we're going to turn crosswind here when we're at about 12 to 1,300 AGL. And we'll go ahead, we'll start that crosswind turn coming in now. Keep that climb coming up to about 1,700 feet. So this yoke feels really good. It feels very much just like the real aircraft itself. I'm going to call it the mechanical kind of linearity of it is just phenomenal. Very responsive. It feels great. So we're going to go ahead. We're about 1,700 feet. We're going to be looking for about 2,100 RPM in the downwind leg. So we'll go ahead. We're going to turn downwind now, and we're looking for about 90-95 knots in the downwind leg as well. So we are gaining a little bit of altitude here, so we're going to come down into there, and then we've got our bug here at about 150. So there's our runway. And so we're in the downwind now. This throttle feels really smooth. It feels really good. You know, I can't say enough great things about just how everything actually feels here. So we're just a little bit fast in the downwind, so we'll pull back here on the power. Use that trim a little bit. We're under 110, so we can put our first notch of flaps in. It's going to balloon up a little bit. We want to keep it coming down at about 500-600 foot percent descent, 500-600 foot per minute descent. So we'll aim for that with our trim, and then we'll start our base turn as well. So keep it coming down. We'll go ahead. We'll start that base turn. Under 85, we can put that second notch of flaps in. Don't want to get too slow or under the power curve, especially in these next few turns. And so we'll bump that power up just a little bit here as well. And there's that base turn. We'll keep the descent coming in. And then here comes that final turn, that base to final turn. So probably just a little bit tight here on the base to final turn. That last notch of flaps in. Continue a little bit of that forward trim. And then we'll begin to bring this in here a little bit. Pulling back on the yoke is really smooth. So we're full flaps landing configuration here. And then pulling back a little bit here. And that feels really good. So overall, I'd say, you know, everything with the Yoko compared to other yokes is just really, really smooth. Okay, I don't know if you noticed kind of coming in there. Everything is just very, very smooth with the Yoko. You know, another digital yoke may be very abrupt and change kind of I'll call it just digitally, versus this is a very smooth transition, kind of much more realistic of flying a real plane versus you know, very up and down, very fast. So, I mean, this yoke is awesome. Highly recommended. Feels great in the hand. The throttle is also really nice. And there's the G1000 system. So, you know, let me know if you guys have any questions at all on the system, the setup. I'm happy to answer anything, and we'll see you guys. So stay level.